People thought it was just an old woman's garden, but they never imagined it would change the entire neighborhood. This is the story of Martha Harper, a 65-year-old woman who discovered that the smallest things can quietly transform an entire life. Martha Harper had a peculiar habit. Every morning, before the sun fully woke up, she stepped onto her small porch, holding a chipped coffee mug that read "World's Okayest Gardener." She would stare at the neighboring houses as if they were postcards she needed to memorize. "Why do you do all this?" her grandson Alex asked one cold morning, wrapping his scarf tightly around his neck. Martha peered over her coffee cup, pretending to look serious. "Because, my boy," she said, "gardens don't grow when you only stare at empty sidewalks. Flowers have to be imagined first." Alex rolled his eyes, but followed her into the yard anyway. Martha's garden was her pride, a scattered patch of tomatoes, sunflowers, and herbs, somehow living peacefully beside neat rows of small tulips. The soil carried the scent of coffee grounds and fresh rain, a mixture she liked to call the secret ingredient. She bent down and pressed her hands into the damp earth. "Look at this little plant," she said, lifting a tiny sprout. "It has been through a lot. Last week, a squirrel stole its home." Alex laughed. "Do you really talk to your plants?" "Of course," Martha said with a wink. "And they talk to you just have to listen." At 65, Martha's life was peaceful, but she was far from lonely. Her friends were at the local library. There was a book club where they discussed mysteries and memoirs, and a knitting circle where scarves always ended up a little longer than intended. Her daily routine was simple. Early morning black coffee, browsing the small antique shops on Maple Street, tending to her garden, reading a book, and then calling her daughter in Denver. But change came slowly. Maple Street was transforming. New families were moving in, old neighbors were retiring, and the corner bakery had closed, replaced by a smoothie bar that carried the scent of fresh, green vegetables and determination. "People come and go," Martha said to herself, stirring her coffee with a wooden spoon, "just like the seasons." One Thursday, as she was cutting roses, she saw a little girl peering over the fence. The girl had curly hair, bright eyes, and a shy, hesitant smile. "Hello." The girl stepped forward slowly. "I'm Lily. I just moved here." Martha wiped her hands on her apron. "Welcome, Lily. Would you like to help me plant these marigolds?" The girl nodded excitedly. For the next hour, they planted, dug, and even argued over which flower should go where. Lily's laughter was so cheerful that it reminded Martha of her own children, who used to play in this very garden, covered in soil. "Grandma, your garden is so big," Lily said at last, sitting on the curb. "I wish I had a garden like this." Martha smiled. "It's not the size that matters. Love is what counts. And sometimes a little sprinkle of coffee grounds helps too." Days turned into weeks. Lily began coming every afternoon. Soon other children also started taking an interest in this mysterious garden. Martha began keeping extra gloves and small watering cans, and she felt a happiness she hadn't even realized she remembered. One week, Alex came to the garden and raised his eyebrows at the activity. "Mom," he asked, "Why are you teaching the children to plant carrots?" Martha looked at the circle of little children, all smiling in the dirt. "Because, Alex, just like gardens, neighborhoods need care, patience, and a little conversation. Sometimes the best lessons come straight from the soil." Her life continued with a renewed energy. She opened a small weekend market store, selling herbs and fresh vegetables. Neighbors didn't just come for the produce, they came to chat, to listen to stories, like why tomatoes seemed to dislike her cat, or why sunflowers always turn toward the east. In the evening, after closing the store, Martha sat on the porch with her coffee. She watched the sun painting the new houses in golden light. The laughter of children echoed faintly from the garden. Alex sat beside her, holding a half-eaten carrot in his hand. "You've changed the street, Mom," he said softly. "For the better." Martha smiled, feeling the weight of her 65 years of mornings, afternoons, and quiet evenings on her shoulders. Sometimes the smallest things are the most important. A cup of coffee, a plant in the soil, a neighbor's smile. That's the secret. That night, she fell asleep to the sound of crickets and distant laughter. Life wasn't perfect. Bills still needed paying, the garden still needed weeding, and Maple Street kept changing. But Martha Harper knew she had found her rhythm, a life full of small adventures, quiet victories, and the joy of sharing them. By the next spring, the garden had become the heart of the neighborhood. Children ran around carrying watering cans, neighbors came by to chat, and even the new smoothie bar owner started bringing a basket of bananas in exchange for Martha's tomatoes. And every morning, Martha stepped onto her porch with her chipped coffee cup, watching the world wake up and smiling. She had discovered a simple yet profound truth. The secret to a good life isn't in the extraordinary. It's in the ordinary moments, nurtured with love, patience, and a little bit of soil.